And lastly, to round out this first hour, we have the Grantsburg Revitalization Operation, which is a fellow 2020 TRDI recipient. So this Grantsburg Revitalization Operation is a multifaceted operation focusing on the renewal of Grantsburg and community growth. Presenting today is Nikki Peterson, founder of the Grantsburg Revitalization Operation. So we will turn this over to Nikki.
Hi, everyone. I too will attempt to share my screen successfully.
We can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to talk to you about what we've been doing in Grantsburg, Wisconsin. If you're not familiar with where we are in Northwest. We're basically an hour north of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So all of our news comes from the Twin Cities, which is kind of weird. But we're here and we're thriving, and I'm excited to tell you about some of the things we're doing. Grantsburg Revitalization Operation, which we actually started with the acronym GRO and worked back into what the words were going to mean. So we formed our organization in the spring of 2014. We kicked off the group with a design team visit, which Mariah went into detail about, so I won't go into that detail, but I think we were the UW Extension's guinea pig. From moving, kind of replicating a Minnesota design team, charrette type of program into the UW system with the extension spearheading it. So we had a community gathering for a weekend where the main goal was to identify a shared community vision. And I just love this graphic that Todd shared with us at the beginning, which was like everyone scrambling around kind of doing your own thing, or an imposed vision where maybe it's your local government or some group that's kind of forcing the direction, or a shared vision where your community comes together and we all talked and highlighted what we felt was important in our community where we wanted to see growth happen. I know Mariah showed some of the screens that they went through, but my favorite part of the process was how questions were asked of the community members. And then everyone got stickers and we put up the answers to the questions all across the gymnasium, and people got to take their stickers and put what was most important to them. From there, then the design team was able to kind of hone in on what was important to create our community vision. So everything we've been working on, we know and feel confident that it's what our community wants. From there, we put together kind of a steering committee, a main committee that included all facets of our community. One that is integral in everything we do is the village board and public works department. And I know Mariah talked about that briefly as well. We also have school administration, hospital administration. We have a state-owned wildlife area here that is it's 30,000 acres or something like that. So it's huge. So we have their wildlife representative. Service business, retail business, manufacturing, farming, library, outfitters, because we're along the St. Croix River, county extension, and county administration. So we wanted to make sure that everyone had a voice at the table. From the design team drawings and weekend, we decided to focus on 5 different areas. One is branding. Grantsburg didn't really have a brand. We didn't know what we stood for. So we developed that. Natural resources. Mostly promoting what we already have for natural resources, as well as enhancing and developing new options. Highway 70, we're a main corridor. We're one of the few areas you can cross over from Minnesota into Wisconsin along the St. Croix River. So we have a very busy highway that goes to cabin country in the Northwoods. And then our downtown, like many rural communities, we're set off a few blocks from the main highway. So getting any support in retail business or anything downtown was a struggle. And you see those empty buildings and buildings that just needed an upgrade on the outside. So that was a focus on the downtown. And then housing. I think every community struggles in having enough housing. So that was our 5th. And what we ended up doing was we took our main group of people and everyone was assigned to be on one of these 5. They often were one person was on each one. And then the idea was to get other community members involved on the committees where they were passionate. I feel like no one wants to go to a meeting that they don't really want to be at. So to find the people who are interested in each of the aspects, and we actually have subcommittees of subcommittees of subcommittees. Some are project focused where you have an end date, like we're going to work on this for 1 year or 3 months or 1 weekend, whatever it is. And that's been successful for us. So I'm going to dive quickly into the different committees and show you what we've done. But we had a new logo for Grantsburg, a new tagline, which is "Start Here," with the idea of, again, we are one of the first places you come into Wisconsin. So start your family here, start your business, your vacation, your outdoor adventure. Part of this and the promoting of our current natural resources was to create these trail kiosks. Basically, we have 2 of them located in town where you can drive up or walk up to, and they highlight all of our trails and waterways, campgrounds, public landings, bike routes, snow trails, hiking, all of that good stuff. So there's QR codes, so then you can download the map on your phone, see your public services such as the library and the golf course and various things. Also with the natural resources, a big project, we have 6 miles of very windy riverway between our downtown and the St. Croix River. Many areas of the river were unpassable with fallen down trees, etc. So we have gone down the river several times after storms and get out your chainsaws and clear the riverway. So we had to have landowner buy-in to get in and out of the river on their land and pull the trees aside. So this is a very strenuous job, but we have a great group of volunteers that have been keeping that cleaned up for several years now. Another small project committee is our swimming pool park. We have a community swimming pool with a lot of grass, the kind of the middle picture there, that we decided to kind of create an outdoor recreational area. So we've put in a fitness trail. So it's about a 0.4 mile trail around the park. And then there's 5 different fitness stations along the trail. So you can get a good workout. And we're currently fundraising for a splash pad to connect to our swimming pool because our kiddie pool had to be shut down due to new regulations that we couldn't afford. And splash pads kind of seem to be the new thing. So we were hoping to have that ready for this year, but with COVID, our fundraising kind of took a back seat. So, and then phase 3 would be a playground. There is a small playground there, and we would like to make that larger. And we've, the bottom picture to the right, we sold bricks as a fundraiser for part of this project. We've also, through Todd seems to always be in our corner, even after the design team weekend. For the last many years, he's been an advocate for Grantsburg. And so he connected us with this program with the UW-Madison Landscape Architecture Program, where the students have to basically adopt a town and for their capstone program. So luckily we had a girl named Sage come to Grantsburg, and she focused on identifying gateways and creating a sense of community, connecting our natural resources to the highway, and developing a downtown streetscape design. And I feel like what we kind of went and ran with on those pieces that she was focusing on was that downtown streetscape. So we talked about signage and streetlights, places to sit along our downtown. With the design team project and with the capstone project, it really gave us the tools we needed to be awarded the community development block grant. So we were very excited to get that. And in the summer of 2019, we redid all of the streets in our downtown, got new street lights, hired a designer to do new banners that went with our theme of Start Here, and kind of outlined all the assets we have, new benches, new trash receptacles, and then stormwater improvements and things that you can't see, but it's made a dramatic difference in our downtown for the beauty piece. So this is a shameless plug of my own, but I know it's important because it's, my husband and I opened a brewery in September of 2018, but the reason we did it is, again, you go back to what drives people to downtown, and getting those people off the busy highway to come into your downtown was just something that's very difficult. And he and I purchased this building. It's an old creamery. It's located across the street from our lake that's downtown with beautiful green spaces. So we opened the brewery and just kind of build it and they will come. We were hopeful. We did research, of course, but you know, who doesn't want to go research beer? So we've had a lot of fun renovating this. You can see some pictures here, the before and after of this building and the space. The inside, it was owned by the Lions Club, but it was originally a creamery built in 1919. I was digging through the design team weekend where people put their stickers over everything. And one of the main things that they wanted was beautification and revitalization in downtown. And I think that our goal with this is that it would get people kind of the momentum going, and that hopefully other businesses would open up and old buildings would be purchased and renovated. And I'm excited to tell you that we've had 11 businesses open since we opened the brewery. We have a pet groomer, we have a vintage occasional store, we have a custom cakes, a beautiful cake decorator, a realtor, a chiropractor came down and then retired, and now our local police citizens auxiliary. We have a hair salon, we have a media network, we have a women's and clothing store, we have a classic car restoration business, Christmas wreaths, and recently in April opened a coffee shop and wine bar. And our downtown is about 3 blocks long. So this was very exciting to see. And all the people out walking and enjoying our downtown is very cool. So I have a few before and after pictures. The building that sat directly across from our brewery came open for sale 2 years ago in May. And we had no parking and we also had no storage. So we ended up purchasing the building. Then we were probably 2 months later, we were approached by 3 teachers who thought it'd be really cool for downtown to have a women's clothing boutique. And they sold us on it because I ended up going to a clothing boutique and spent way too much money. I'm like, okay, I think this can work. And so we spent the last year, January through May, renovating a part of the building and doing all the painting outside so that they could open their clothing boutique. A few other facade improvements. The upper left picture is our chiropractor, the dog groomer. This building had been shut, I don't know when they were open last, probably 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And then a local bar on the bottom picture, the facade improvements really cleaned things up. We have in the upper is the new occasional vintage store, the Pink Squirrel. That originally was, or not originally, but most recently just kept changing from thrift store to thrift store to thrift store. But the Pink Squirrel makes our downtown once a month. There's nowhere to park. It is amazing what it's done for our town, and it's very exciting. And then the bottom pictures are the coffee shop that opened up, and he took 2 years to renovate that building, but he did an amazing job and did it right. And it's very exciting, the work he's done on that. Also in our downtown, that memory lake that I was talking about across from our brewery is a campground. There's about maybe 30 sites there. So we have a group of people who are passionate about the campground and have approached the village, and they're working on getting a grant and their engineering all done. And the goal of expanding the campground in the next year and a half, but we would be adding another 30 sites along the Wood River. And the Wood River is what I was talking about before, that we've cleaned out so you can kayak it more readily. So hopefully that's on the way to completion. Our housing, we also were awarded a $5,000 grant to have a housing market analysis. Since then, we've had local investors develop 2 sets of duplexes. I could not find a picture. They opened last summer. And unfortunately, there was a fire in them already. So that's the only picture I could find. And then we also just recently, I read in the paper that someone was approved for up to 50 houses on a housing development. I don't remember how many acres of land, but they're planning to have a dozen of those ready for this fall, if they can find lumber and trusses and things like that. Highway 70, we've added some wayfinding. That's about the only thing we've been able to accomplish. Like Mariah said, you get all these committees and it's great, and then the leader moves away or something happens and they kind of fizzle out. So that one's kind of on a hold. And then our fire hydrants, this was an idea from the design team, just kind of get some community spirit. So scavenger hunt around town. We have an amazingly enormous number of fire hydrants. And so teamed up with the school and local artists to do the fire hydrants. And lastly, I just thought I would talk about how we communicate with our community. We have a Facebook group just for businesses. We did join the Connect Communities program with WEDC, and this is where I share all information that they share with me so that everyone can have it in one spot. We also have a Facebook group just to kind of tell the community projects that we're working on. We have a website, and it's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to see what the next 7-8 years hold for us. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Nikki. This is wonderful. And again, it's great to see how, the beginning process of this can spur all of these other developments and improvements and things like that. So definitely thank you so much for sharing these great things that have happened. That's very exciting. I think another trip up to Grantsburg is in my summer plans. So great information. We do have time for a couple questions. So we do have one here. Do you have a village grant program in place for facade improvements? And if so, what does the village offer for incentives?
There is a county facade program. I believe it's at 1% financing. So I believe some of those businesses I was showing them before and after, I know Hummer's Rendezvous, I believe is one of them, have taken advantage of that.
Wonderful, thank you. And if we have time for a couple additional questions, you can definitely put those in the chat. And then Nikki, if you wouldn't mind also chatting your email in the chat, that would be great. And then we'll put these presentations out on our website, so you'll be able to check out the GRO Grantsburg website, as well as the Facebook page and things like that. So you had mentioned when you were talking about kind of the tourism pieces of this, getting some landowner buy-in. So was that purchasing land from landowners, or were those donations to the community?
I guess I don't recall the landowner buy-in.
For the kayaking around the.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So they sent letters to the landowners along the river, just to make sure that if they did have something to pull out of the river, they had permission to put it there for a little bit, or if they needed a place to get in and out of the river because there aren't landings along that stretch. They had so basically I'm not exactly sure where they got the list of landowners, but I'm sure that's readily available in plat maps and stuff. And everyone, I think, was fine with that.
Wonderful, thank you. And last question here, did you hire a private company to do your branding materials?
I am in marketing, so I've done a lot of it, but we did hire, or I shouldn't even say we hired. I have a very good friend who's a graphic designer, so she was willing to help us with our logo. And then the rest of it's been kind of on our own. And I wanted to mention also, because this is a question from Mariah, but we're 100% volunteer. We have no paid employees, or we don't have a chamber of commerce that has a paid employee or anything. So it's been good, but it's been hard, but it's been good.
That's great to hear. Definitely a strong community base and passion there. So thank you so much for sharing. So again, we really want to thank all of our presenters, Paula, Kelly, Mariah, and Nikki, for their great presentations today, and hopefully giving you some ideas for your own communities for future growth and development. And with that, I will turn it over to